Have you ever wondered about the strangest photos that time has forgotten? Today, we will reveal to you the strangest and most fascinating vintage photos that you will love. I promise you, enjoy the show. Talk about a mystery makeover. This glamorous 1967 Minneapolis mugshot isn't your typical police photo. Looking like she just stepped out of a fashion magazine, this lady's perfectly styled hair and designer outfit had even the booking officers doing double takes. Bet there's quite a story behind those striking blue eyes. Holy smokes, folks. You're looking at one of the most rebellious beauty pageants of 1954. See this stunning outfit? Back then, wearing it was actually illegal in some states. That's right. Miss Indian America wasn't just about looks. It was a straight-up act of defiance. Talk about a last dance. This photo's got one hell of a story. Here's President Ford cruising through Madrid with Franco in '75, surrounded by all this pomp and ceremony. But here's the kicker. Franco was practically on his deathbed during this visit. Just weeks after this parade, the old dictator kicked the bucket, ending his 36-year iron grip on Spain. Hey, remember when network TV was just 3 channels and everyone knew who Gilligan was? This 1966 publicity shot is pure gold. What you're seeing here is the crew of the SS Minnow in all their glory. But check this out. These guys were making just $750 per episode when the show started. Yeah, even with those killer ratings. Talk about timing. This glamour shot from 1930 was taken right in the middle of Prohibition. Here's the kicker, though. While booze was banned, grape production in California actually went through the roof. Why? Because folks were buying these cooking grapes with warning labels that basically read, "Warning, do not let these grapes ferment in a barrel for 21 days or they'll turn into wine." Check this out. Star Wars 77, but not like you've ever seen it. Here's a crazy fact. When this photo was snapped, none of these folks had any clue they were standing in what would become a $70 billion franchise. Harrison Ford was still doing carpentry work on the side to make ends meet, and Mark Hamill was fresh off doing soap operas. Get a load of this, 1964, and here's Sophia Loren hanging out in her Italian villa garden like it's no big deal. But here's the wild part. This same year, she turned down the lead role in Cleopatra that made Elizabeth Taylor the highest-paid actress in history. Why? Because Sophia said, "I'm Italian, not Egyptian. That would be crazy." Get this. When ABC pitched Charlie's Angels in '76, some genius exec called it the Alley Cats and wanted them to be police meter maids. Talk about missing the mark. But here's the real kicker. Farrah Fawcett's famous red swimsuit poster from that year outsold every other poster in history, moving 12 million copies. That's more than Elvis and the Beatles combined. Check this out. 1969, Times Square, and John and Yoko dropped $50,000 of their own cash to plaster this message across 12 major cities. Hold on to your hats, fellas. This is Dame Helen Mirren at 20, before she was a dame, just a kid from Essex taking London by storm. Get this. She was making 18 pounds a week at the Old Vic, living in a rundown flat, and had to sew her own costumes. But man, look at that presence. Camber Castle is a historic fortification located in East Sussex, England. Built in the 16th century, it served as a coastal defense against potential invasions and offers a glimpse into England's military history. Ambrotype shot of Napoleon veteran with his wife in 1860. Single medal hangs by his waistcoat lapel. Get this, back in 1970, New Zealand Air went full-on space age with these uniforms. They were called Kiwi Go-Go outfits and were designed by Christian Dior himself. But here's the crazy part. Flight attendants had to sign a contract agreeing to keep their weight within 7 pounds of their hiring weight, or they'd get grounded. Jane Mansfield with her husband, Mickey Hargitay, and their daughter, Mariska, 1964. Rick Steves, Here I Am, heading off to Europe the day after high school graduation in 1973. Hungarian woman on the Danube riverbank, wearing a long coat, with her handbags and hat tilted. Budapest, Kingdom of Hungary, circa 1920s. Check this out. 1985, when Adidas decided to jump into the aerobics craze and compete with Jane Fonda's Empire. But here's the wild part. Those tennis dresses you're looking at cost about $200 in today's money, and people were fighting in stores to get them. Get a load of this. Wonder Woman herself rocking a Shakey's Pizza t-shirt. But here's the kicker. Before she was deflecting bullets with magic bracelets, Linda Carter was actually working at Shakey's in Arizona to make ends meet. Talk about a superhero origin story. A Soviet officer sees and tastes a hot dog and Coca-Cola for the first time aboard the U.S. cruiser Thomas S. Gates, 1989. Camel being supplied to the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire, 1918. Check this out. 1978, young Michael posing with Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street. But here's the wild part. MJ was actually terrified of that puppet. The crew had to do multiple takes because he kept jumping every time Oscar moved. And dig this, he was wearing his own clothes here, not a costume. That sweater became so iconic that fans started flooding JCPenney looking for the same pattern. Here's Björk being peak Björk in what might be the most 90s photo ever. Check out that shirt. It's a parody of the Coca-Cola logo. Here's a shot of Elizabeth Montgomery in '63, right before she became America's favorite witch. But check this out. She's reading what looks like a script, and rumor has it this was her first look at the Bewitched pilot. Get this. She actually hated the nose-twitching thing at first, said it made her feel silly, but her husband producer insisted it would become iconic. Boy, was he right. Here's a wild one from '56. 3 Miss Universe contestants staging what looks like a wholesome photo. But get this, they nearly got disqualified for it. Why? Because contestants weren't supposed to be photographed together during competition. Their defense? We were just trying to show world peace through tree climbing. Talk about presidential fitness. Here's Tricky Dick Nixon showing off his bowling skills, but get this. He was so obsessed with bowling that he actually had a 1-lane alley installed in the White House basement in '69. Propaganda posters from the campaign against women's suffrage, 1900 to 1913. Get a load of this wild idea from '36. Someone actually proposed turning the Eiffel Tower into a giant drive-in. The plan was to build a massive spiral ramp all the way up to the first level, so folks could park their cars and enjoy the view of Paris from 187 feet up. Talk about parking with a view. Talk about movie magic gone wrong. In this iconic poppy field scene from '39, that magical snow falling on Dorothy was pure asbestos. Yeah, you heard that right. MGM bragged about using their pure white snow made by their new process. which was basically just industrial-grade asbestos flakes. Soup from a Campbell's soup vending machine in their office, 1950s, with a floor-mounted can opener. A vintage Coca-Cola machine, 6 cents per bottle, 1950s. German troops wearing gas masks, posing for a photograph in the Vosges Mountains, 1918. Here's a heartbreaker. Marilyn on the set of The Misfits, wearing that iconic white shirt and looking like $1,000,000. But here's the gut punch. She literally had to be sewn into this shirt every morning because she'd lost so much weight during filming. Check this out. The world's first Roomba from 1959. Called the RoboVac, this bad boy was supposed to be the future of housekeeping. Betty Page, before she became a model, mid-1940s. Check out this slice of space-age cool from the 60s, the ball chair, or as hipsters called it, the telephone booth for one. But here's the wild part. This finished design icon was actually created by accident. The designer, Eero Aarnio, couldn't afford a proper couch for his home, so he basically built himself a human-sized bubble. Check this out, the Statue of Liberty in pieces, looking like the world's biggest jigsaw puzzle. But here's the wild part. Lady Liberty's hand was actually displayed at the 1876 Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia, where folks paid 50 cents to climb up and stand on the balcony of her torch. Talk about a sneak preview. Tippi Hedren with her pet tiger, 1982. Talk about ahead of his time. JFK taking what might be history's first presidential selfie. But here's the wild part. Kennedy was actually a huge photography buff, and he'd often grab the camera from White House photographers to snap shots himself. Get a load of this wild space-age kitchen gadget from the 60s. That wall-mounted fridge was supposed to be the next big thing. No more bending over to grab your milk. But here's the kicker. These babies cost about $12,000 in today's money. And guess what happened when they broke down? You needed to tear down half your kitchen wall to fix them. Check this out. East Germany tried to show off their computer might in '87. But here's the kicker. These high-tech machines they're parading around had less processing power than your average calculator today. Each one of those computers cost about a year's salary for the average worker, and most folks had to wait 10 years just to get one. The Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Cairo, 1896, pretending to be a mummy.